If these guys aren't following the rules of the road for truck drivers, they put everybody at risk who's on the road with them. That's you, that's me, that's my family, your family, it's everybody.
Are unqualified drivers of 18-wheelers putting your safety at risk? Well, that's what we're going to ask the lawyer today. Hi again, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with AskTheLawyers.com. My guest is attorney Brian Davis with the Davis Law Group based in Asheville, North Carolina. Brian, thank you for making some time, answering our questions. Good to see you again.
Thank you, Rob. Good to be here.
So let's just start with maybe some basics. We're talking about truck drivers, big rig drivers who may not be qualified. What sort of training are they supposed to have?
Well, truck drivers get all kinds of different training. A lot of it depends on who they're working for. The vast majority of truck drivers on the road these days are the smaller, what we call mom and pop drivers.
Okay.
The owner-operator type companies. And most of those guys will have gone to a truck driver training school to get their CDL, their commercial driver's license. You sort of contrast those with the major truck companies, the C.R. Englands, the Schneiders. Those are the national truck companies. Those truck companies have thousands and thousands of trucks and drivers on the roads every day, and they have their own internal training systems. So truck drivers come to them already having CDLs, and then those companies will actually put them through a driver training program in-house. A lot of those companies use a system called the Smith training system, which is a very good truck driver training system. So to answer your question, it really depends on who they're working for.
So sounds like there's plenty of training out there, Brian. Where's the problem? Are drivers not taking the training, or the owner-operator? Where's the problem?
Well, the problem is really with, I guess what I would call follow-up. There's not a lot of follow-up training. Once truck drivers get into the job, these guys are on the road a lot of times 6-7 days a week. I mean, they basically live on the road. So they're doing this job anywhere from 11 to 14 to 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then they're off for a few days and they're right back at it again. And it's a really, really tough lifestyle. So what happens over weeks and months and years is that truck drivers get what I call complacent. They just sort of get, they've been doing it. It becomes very routine. It becomes habit. And they simply stop doing some of the really important things that they have been trained to do. And that's when the problems happen. For example, just give you a quick example.
Okay.
Truck drivers are taught to leave lots of following distance, anywhere between 4 and 6 seconds of following distance between the front of their vehicle and the back of the vehicle in front of them. That can translate at 50, 60 miles an hour or faster into hundreds of feet for a truck driver. And sometimes they just, honestly, I think they just sort of get a little complacent, a little lazy, and maybe they're trying to get where they're going, and they don't follow the rules. So they need repetition.
What sort of supervision, who keeps track of whether these rules are followed or whether the follow-up is done that you're talking about?
Well, with the smaller entities, the mom and pop companies, a lot of times it's nobody. It's the truck driver himself, because he is the owner and the operator of the truck. And if, the statistics are right, that the vast, vast majority of trucks on the roads today are owner-operator type vehicles, the answer is there's really not anybody doing the supervision. And in the bigger companies, they do have ways of supervising. A lot of companies these days have the real-time video supervision right there in the cab of the truck. They're actually watching or can watch the truck driver while he's driving. The camera is dual directional. It faces the truck driver and it faces the road, so the supervisor can see what's going on real time. There are other ways. There are GPS systems, global positioning system supervision, where they can monitor the truck. They can see how fast it's going. They can see exactly where it is on the road. So there are various ways that the bigger companies monitor their drivers.
So this may seem like an obvious question, Brian, but what's the danger to the public if there are drivers out there who are who are complacent or not properly trained or haven't followed up on their training? What's the danger?
Sure. And it is obvious, Rob. The danger is obviously crashes. If these guys aren't following the rules of the road for truck drivers, they put everybody at risk who's on the road with them. That's you, that's me, that's my family, your family, it's everybody. And that's what we want to avoid. And that's why we want to get the word out that, you know, if you're involved in a crash like this, more than likely, there's a training issue, there's a supervision issue, and that's where the breakdown is most of the time.
If I'm injured in a crash with a driver and we determine that the driver was, or whatever reason, it didn't operate the vehicle properly, is my complaint with the driver? Is it with the owner of the truck, or both? Is that difficult to work out, Brian?
Well, it's usually a shared responsibility. You know, obviously the driver is in control of the vehicle. The truck driver is in control of the truck. But it's a little more complex than that when you're dealing with one of these big rigs. You know, when you're driving a tractor trailer, there's usually a company behind the driver. And the company, under the rules, the federal rules, the company shares that responsibility for safely operating the truck and for following all of the rules that apply. So it's a shared responsibility. And, you know, you need to get to what we call the root cause of the problem. You know, where is the true breakdown? Is it a training? Is it a supervision issue? If it is, that falls on the company more, in my opinion, than it does on the driver.
You mentioned it's complicated. I'm guessing that's one of the reasons why it's important if I'm injured in a crash with a big rig, to get an attorney on my side who has familiarity, who has experience with these kind of cases, right?
Well, you know, ideally, if you're involved in one of these crashes, you really should consider getting an attorney as soon as possible. There are just so many things that need to be done as soon as possible. And a lot of that is to preserve evidence. You know, these trucks basically have the same thing as an airplane. They have a black box mounted to the engine. And that black box data gathers and stores a lot of really important information anytime there's a crash.
Right.
But if you don't get that stuff quickly, if you don't preserve it early, it can quickly disappear. So, you know, that's one of the big reasons that we tell folks, you know, if you're in a crash, you know, get up with a lawyer who's experienced in truck crashes. You know, don't necessarily just hire the first lawyer that you come to. Interview them. Interview 2 or 3. Ask about their trial history. You know, how many of these cases have they actually tried in a courtroom? Test their knowledge. Ask them hard questions. But yeah, get a lawyer as soon as possible.
Brian, as always, lots of great information. Thank you for helping us out today. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
That's going to do it for this episode of Ask the Lawyer. My guest has been North Carolina attorney Brian Davis. If you want the best information or you're ready to choose a lawyer that lawyers choose, remember, make sure to go to askthelawyer.com. Also, please take a sec to like, share, and subscribe below. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Rob Rosenthal with askthelawyer.com.